Back speaking this morning with ECR's Chief Executive, Andrew Haythorpe. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. Great to be here again.
Good to be speaking. Look, been a big couple of weeks here where Victoria is concerned, with news out of both Baillieston and most recently Crestwood. Touching firstly on Crestwood, some impressive high grades here. What prompted the reassaying, Andrew?
Well, it's always been on the agenda because, as some of our investors would know, there's a phenomenon called nuggety gold. And nuggety gold is where you get one lump of gold here, and if you drill this particular area, it's happy days. However, if you drill over here, you get a miss. And so, of course, when you've got those sort of two things happening in a nuggety gold field, which Crestwood is, and of course, Crestwood itself is a northerly extension of the Ballarat goldfields, and Ballarat again is well known for nuggety gold, and that's the history of the gold discoveries, of course, in Victoria. So it's not a surprise, it's not a new phenomenon. However, we've done a lot of work, and Adam in particular, our geologist, has been thinking about this for a long time. And we essentially made the investment to spend the extra money to do, let's say, a more comprehensive sampling approach, which really does or should allow and capture that nuggety gold. So we embarked upon this work this year. And of course, one of the great ways to test not just the concept of the expanded sampling, processing, treatment, but to also assess Crestwood as a prospect for the company, is to have some of those old samples and assays where the assay results, some were good, some were not so good, re-assay them using this more, how would you say, five-star approach, if I could call it that. And sure enough, we got the results from the five-star approach in terms of processing the samples, and here's the gold. And the uplift in gold grades and capturing the gold in allowing for this nuggety effect has been fantastic. So that's where we've released those results, and we think that's very encouraging.
That's what I was going to say. So what's your impression of these results, and how does Crestwood rank as a prospect for ECR?
Well, when you've got a nuggety gold prospect, it's a bit frustrating, to be honest, just going back in my history, at least from a technical point of view. And the frustration is, you know, the gold's there and you know there's some spectacular gold, but then you've got all the misses in between. So to have this sampling process proven, I think in my view, at least extremely encouraging, if not totally proven, then means you can reassess something like Crestwood, knowing that it's nuggety gold, but knowing also you're going to get a lot more consistent and better gold results, which then supports the whole idea of doing a resource and ultimately a reserve and a mine plan. So it really lifts not just confidence, but it also lifts the value of the whole proposition. So I think we're looking forward even more than before to getting back there with drilling and using the new sample processing.
And talking of lifting confidence, Baillieston, that's really ripped back into life. Now, many fair to say may have written it off. A surprise in that last hole here, we got 9 grams over 4 meters. That's a decent hit.
Absolutely, and you know, multiple hits as well in that sort of area, and it's not too far away from a very high grade hit that we had previously. I think it's only 20 or 30 meters along strike. So the question becomes again well, better grades, but not just better grades, but also better continuity. And so I think that's really takes me to a point which, you know, since I've joined the company and since we've embarked at least this year on the program, it's really about finding wider widths and of course more consistent grades. So it's almost like if you have the choice between one bonanza drill hole result and then 10 not so good ones, or just having 9 or 10 consistent, nice drill hits, you can sort of build a feasibility study and a mining reserve easier, if you like, with those consistent hits that might not be front page newspaper type headlines, but they're just consistently good results.
Just on Blue Moon, not a great deal to update on. Going according to plan, we're a couple of holes in, some assays in the lab, but full steam ahead here.
Yes, and that's where Blue Moon, of the 3 prospects, or the lead prospects, if I could call that in Victoria, yeah, Blue Moon certainly being one of the, I think, more promising ones, just because of not just the grades themselves, but the grades and widths, then also the consistency. And then thirdly, more for the geologist or the technically oriented listener, the association with sulfides rather than quartz. So it's kind of a more potentially massive system or a different style of mineralisation to the other two. And therefore it's also very intriguing, from an opportunity with real commercial potential. So that's where we're keen to keep drilling that too, which we currently are.
Our investors, Andrew, they're aware we've now pulled the trigger on the second rig, offering both RC and diamond capabilities.
Yes.
What's your early thinking in terms of deployment?
Well, deployment, it's so like now we've got a couple of targets which have really just gone higher up the list of priorities. So a serendipity might have it, albeit the rig's turning up soon. We're not sure exactly when soon, but it's turning up soon. We've definitely got some things to chase up for that drill rig. And of course, if the assay results from Blue Moon come through and then we have Crestwood and further sampling encouragement there, well, there's two prospects with meritorious drilling to be done through, into Christmas and post-Christmas. So suddenly we might have a very busy period of time coming ahead for us in 2023.
Meanwhile, any updates, Andrew, as far as some of these non-core asset sales?
Been slower than what we hoped. We were very fortunate where we decided to put some non-core assets up for sale, which we mentioned to our investors and shareholders there months ago. We were fortunate to sell a property, one of the properties in Victoria, very quickly. But yes, we've observed the effect of increasing inflation and increasing interest rates here in Australia has certainly now dampened the activity in Victoria. So we're sort of just reassessing how aggressively we pursue those opportunities to sell some non-core assets and get the cash. And then on the flip side, we've got increasingly good things to do with that cash to add value for the company and literally find more gold, build our resources value, and hopefully our share price in due course.
And look, we're fast knocking on the door of November. Now, what's the plan between now and the end of the year?
It's really a race to the end of the year, I think, with the drilling of Blue Moon. And I think from what I've heard most recently from the field and our team in Victoria, the Blue Moon drilling will probably take us through to Christmas. And then the new rig will turn up sometime soon. That's subject to shipping, etc. And then we'll have some work to do on the rig just to bring it up to spec in terms of operating and safety and Australian compliance type standards. So if we're still drilling at Blue Moon come January, well then that rig might be deployed onto Crestwood, fairly promptly, logically. So again, that's part of where we could really be scaling up quite considerably, depending on how a few things fall into place literally between now and Christmas.
And near-term news, of course, Andrew, the sampling program in Queensland, that's nearing an end. Going by reports from Adam, some encouraging signs there.
Extremely. So the previous signs from the work that was done some 50 odd years ago, I think it was, it looks like we've pretty well validated those results. I won't go into any further details. We'll come out with those in due course as assays, etc. are received. But what we've seen in the field so far is very encouraging, and that's holding up. And so the thesis or the potential for multiple gold sources for those multiple gold occurrences in the stream sets that we're now seeing for ourselves, that's a terrific result, a terrific outcome. It's all we can hope for at this stage is, yes, the gold results previously reported are legitimate and the geological potential remains untested, and that's our job moving forwards next year. Patience is rewarded, or we certainly plan for patience to be rewarded. This year's just been extreme volatility with the market, with extreme uncertainty, to say the least, at the risk of parroting so many other commentators. But the volatility has been amazing in terms of what's happening, and especially in the UK with gas prices and energy and inflation and budgets and all sorts of things which hit the press and the news every day, not just in the United Kingdom, but around the world. And as an investor, what are you supposed to do? Do you buy, hold, or sell? So obviously there's a lot of shareholders that we've had, unfortunately, who just decided, whatever you want to call it, the world capital markets are a bit too volatile for my taste, so we'll just sell and time out. But for those who hold, I think speaking from the ground, so to speak, here in Australia, from the ground up, we're building value, and we are finding things, and we are finding more and more gold as we keep drilling and exploring in our different project areas. So that's where I think, whilst the markets might be uncertain and trending downwards in certain respects, for us, the geological confidence in the gold inventory potential is rising. So at some stage, there'll be a crossover where that means the share price will go up, I think, Andrew.
Good to speak, Andrew. Thanks very much.
Andrew, thank you very much. Always a pleasure.